The future of food production remains uncertain due to global warming and severe weather conditions. This has a direct impact on fruit production, making crops more susceptible to poor growing seasons, pests and fungal diseases. Zespri is a company that exports and markets kiwifruit and manages a world-leading kiwifruit research and development program to help people, communities and the environment around the world thrive through the goodness of kiwifruit. Well, I sat down at the COP28 talks here in Dubai to talk to the Chief Marketing, Innovation and Sustainability Officer at Zespri, Chuin Shi. Well, there seems to be quite a lot of positive change in the air here at COP28 Dubai. What are the main reasons for you being here, and what conversations are you a part of?
Yeah, no, I can definitely feel the optimism in the air. But fundamentally, I'm here representing Zespri and our kiwifruit growers to foster connection. I think our growers are facing tremendous challenge, particularly with the increase in the climate volatility. And we realize that we cannot do this alone. And we are seeking partnerships, we're seeking like-minded organizations that can help us foster better, sustainable solutions for the challenges that our growers are facing.
Very excited to hear much more about Zespri. Let's go head on over to our studio to continue the discussion. Chuin, great to have you here in our studio at COP28.
Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Laura.
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty around the future of food and food production. That's where your company sort of comes in. So tell us a little bit more about what exactly you do.
So Zespri, we represent the 4,300 kiwifruit growers from New Zealand and around the world. And our focus is to breed, grow and market the world's most delicious and most nutritious kiwifruit.
Tell us more about kiwifruit. Why is kiwifruit so special, and what are the main benefits, and why is this a key focus for you?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a big lover of kiwifruit, and kiwifruit is not only I find it delicious, but it is one of the most nutritious fruits and foods in the world. It has more vitamin C than oranges, more potassium than bananas, it's high in fiber, low in glycemic index. I could go on and on around all of its benefits. And I think that the world needs a more balanced and healthy diet. I think when we think about some of the challenges in health and society today, we're facing something that I call the 90-10 paradox. So according to many surveys, and the latest one was from the International Floral and Produce Association, over 90% of people around the world agree that eating more fresh fruits and vegetables is key to being healthy. And yet in most countries, only about 10% of people eat the minimum recommended guidelines of 5 a day. So I think there is a role for us to play in terms of offering more healthy fruit to people around the world, and doing that in a way that is sustainable for the environment.
How is climate change impacting kiwifruit at the moment then, and the different regions that you serve as well and that you grow?
Yeah, I think farmers around the world, and the kiwifruit growers are no different, are some of the most vulnerable people to the effects of climate change. We've had, just in the little while in the last few months, we had 2 cyclones in New Zealand. We have extreme heat, extreme rain, we had hail, we had frost, we had 9 atypical weather events, extreme weather events during a period of 6-7 months, which have really affected many of our growers, kiwifruit growers. And also the winters in New Zealand are becoming warmer, and that really affects bud break, which effectively means that there is less production, there's less yield. So it is absolutely vital that we think around the climate adaptation to build that resilience for the New Zealand kiwifruit growers and kiwifruit growers from around the world. And that is why we are focusing heavily around investing in research and development on more climate tolerant varieties, more climate tolerant cultivars, more climate tolerant growing systems, as well as on orchard technologies that can offset some of the loss in productivity. But it's not just that, it's also about the role that food production has in terms of climate mitigation as well. Food production accounts for almost 1/3 of all global emissions. So I think regardless of whether we are in livestock or horticulture, whether we are a food processor, whether we are a logistic player, we all have a role to play. And at Zespri, we want to play our role to help mitigate some of that impact to climate.
Going back to the technology and innovation and research that you're talking about, can you give us any sort of nice examples of how that's been quite fruitful, so to speak?
Oh, absolutely. So together with we have a joint venture company called the Kiwifruit Breeding Center, which only focuses on breeding the best varieties of kiwi fruit. In fact, we have the largest kiwi fruit breeding program in the world. And out of that Kiwifruit Breeding Center, we are coming out with much more climate-tolerant varieties that doesn't need as much winter chill, that is more adaptable to the warming climate in New Zealand. That is one example. The other thing that we are researching heavily is around indoor production systems with more of a control environment production systems, control environment agriculture. We are researching heavily how we could potentially grow kiwi fruit in these indoor systems to make it more resilient to climate volatility.
Very impressive indeed. What does this mean for the future of food? Could this technology be applied to different varieties of fruit then?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it will take a combination for different crops within the horticulture sector. It will be a combination around having better varieties. It is a combination around growing systems and a combination around technologies on orchard. I think it will take all of that, and it will take collaboration with all different players within that value chain. We can't do it alone. I don't think growers, Zespri, we cannot do it alone, which is why one of the other things that I'm incredibly excited to talk about is that we have just launched ZAG, which is the Zespri Innovation Fund. It is a $2 million annual fund, which is seeking to accelerate development of sustainable solutions for the challenges that our growers are facing.
Congratulations, that's very exciting indeed. Going back to some of the big challenges on the global agenda, how are you maintaining sort of a green supply chain across the board? Is that something that you focus on as well?
No, absolutely. As I said, I think from a climate mitigation perspective, food's production accounts for almost 1/3 of all of the climate emissions. So we all have a role to play there. And some of the collaborations that we're seeking are, for example, with shipping providers, with shipping partners, to find and develop lower emissions, as well as potentially zero emissions fuels. And we're very excited with some of the partnerships that we are fostering in that space.
The future of food is uncertain. However, what is your view on where you would like to sort of see us all in 10 years? Because obviously you've got to counterbalance production and then food waste.
Yes.
There's a huge sort of misbalance in that
Yes.
on a global scale. So where do you see the future?
I think the future is, first and foremost, we need to help farmers thrive in their communities. I think there is one of the other paradoxes in the food system is that most of the food production in the world come from smallhold farmers, and most of the smallhold farmers live below the poverty line. For me, it's a really sad paradox that the people that produce our food are most likely to not be able to afford to feed their families. So I think first and foremost, I want to see more of the value created from food going back to farmers. That's first and foremost. Second, we need to help farmers with technology so that they can increase their resilience to the climate volatility, as well as disruption from other economic factors. Like, for example, the cost of labor is rising in many places around the world. So that's the second thing I would like to see. And third, I would like to see us move to crops that are less impactful for the environment.
So interesting to hear what you're doing over at Zespri. Thank you so much for sharing with us here today. It's been fantastic sitting down with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks for having me.